Welcome to the Dan Stevens Show. It's the weekly solo episode. Starting to get a pattern going of the solo on a Friday and the guest on a Tuesday. I'm starting to get comfortable with that pattern now. So today's episode is a solo episode about a solo night out last Friday. And I'm tempted to say that I don't want to make this podcast be like a diary of my life, but when memorable things happen, I will tell you about them. There's a lot of mundane stuff that's not very interesting, but I have to say, the day after this night out, I was like, that was a pretty complete night out, especially for a solo night out. They're difficult to do, and I don't know how many of you have been on one. I'd imagine a lot of you listening are in relationships, so you don't have to worry about it. But I mean, I'll give you an insight. I'm pretty good at it. I have become pretty good at solo nights out, and it's all about how you do it. I used to be like maybe 10 years ago when I first started exploring going on a night out solo. I was a bit of a lost sheep. I'd just go into a pub and it wouldn't be that busy, and I'd kind of be sitting at the bar maybe waiting for something to happen, and usually nothing would. I remember going to McGowan's in Dublin, which is a pretty popular night spot, and even you'd get lost in the night, even though it would get busy with a lot of people there, because a lot of people are there in groups, and you're trying to, let's face it, you kind of have to latch on if you want to have a not solo night out anymore. But I think I played it pretty well, and I'm just going to tell you, I ended up not on dry land at the end of the night. And that's going to make sense in a few minutes when I get to the end of the story. I cried twice. I just very smooth and, well, slightly rocky at times, but I'm going to bring you through it now, how it all came about. It was Friday evening, about 4 p.m, and I just felt particularly bored. I had my podcasts scheduled for the week ahead. I had everything ready to go. There was nothing really bugging me. And I thought, you know what? I'd really like a nice pint of Guinness tonight. And that as well can be a trap, because you end up wanting to socialise, and then you go somewhere and have a beautiful pint of Guinness. Then after like two of them, you just start getting dizzy, and you're like, Jesus. It's only 8:30. So you have to really do it right. And I'm going to give what I think are a few valuable pointers to people who might want to go on a solo night out in a city or a town. I happen to live within relatively close proximity to Dublin City, so that's where I went. Blanchardstown, no, I wouldn't do it. Would not do it here. It's a pretty standard suburb of Dublin. There's a few pubs, but it's not designed for having fun. It's designed for having chats, really, and whatever. So I was particularly bored, fancied the Guinness, so I just so happened to look for what events were on in Dublin tonight. And usually, I've done this before, and it's been like, there might be something that pops up and you're like, oh, maybe I could try that. I could maybe do that. It might not be great. It's not really something I'm into, but I'll do it for the sake of having a few points. But on this occasion, one of the first things to pop up was the Complete Stone Roses, who are a tribute band to the 90s Manchester band, the Stone Roses. And unbelievable. Fool's Gold, Sally Cinnamon. They were probably inspiration for Oasis and other Manchester-based bands. So, yeah, they're old indie rock, I guess you could call it, or Britpop. But just, as well as liking that band, they held a lot of nostalgia and happy memories for me. We used to go and see them at the time in the early 2000s, probably like 2007 to 2006, around the mid 2000s. There was two tribute bands to the Stone Roses on the scene at the time that used to come to Dublin semi-regularly. There was the Complete Stone Roses, and there was the Stone Roses Experience, because by this time the original Stone Roses had finished up, and these were just fantastic. I would have seen the Stone Roses Experience many times, and it would be an occasion where myself, my two brothers Dylan and David, and a group of friends would all just get on it and go to this and just absolutely give it loads. It was unbelievable, just brilliant. And I hadn't seen them in a long time, and obviously I'm in a different life now. Life is different now. Dave is in his 40s. He likes playing golf. Dylan has passed away 2023, took his own life. Everybody has grown up. My friends are married or doing their own thing, and I'm pretty much doing my own thing as well. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to get a ticket for this and go into it. It was in a place called the Grand Social, just across from Halfpenny Bridge in Dublin City. It was doors open at 7 o'clock, so I said, right, I'll get myself going here. And it is hard to get yourself going. It's a lot easier to stay in and have a perfectly relaxed night. I could watch my favourite show, 90 Day Fiancé. I could do whatever I wanted, really. And I'm just going to add that I don't like the idea of, like, sometimes I feel selfish in that I just do whatever I want, but I don't have anyone to hold me accountable, really. I hold myself accountable. And that has its ups and downs. Obviously, there's a lot of time spent alone, and there's a lot of benefits and drawbacks to not being in a relationship, but I'm well used to it now. And through the years, I've found a good way of not caring about going out by myself. And the first thing is, and it ties in, is that find a gig or something that's on that you want to go to, that you really want to go to, with like-minded people, where there's a crowd, and if you're a drinker, get a few pints into you, and it gets you into a state where it's like relaxing and you feel happy, and you just never know what will happen then. And on this particular night, that was kind of how it went. So made my way into the city centre, got the bus. The bus was right from the start. I get to the bus stop. There's actually I don't know what's happened to the bus stops in Dublin, but there was no wait time written on them. But the 39 bus came pretty much immediately. My favourite bus, Blanchardstown into the city centre, through Stony Batter, which is Walsh's, which is the best Guinness in Dublin, I would say anyway. Can't speak for the rest of Ireland. But Walsh's is too far away from the Grand Social to kind of do both. But the 39 would go down the quays and just leave you right near the Grand Social. So that was the option I took. First things first, I get on the bus. It was nice warm weather as well. I had like a short sleeve shirt on, a new one that I got in Tesco. If you know, you know. €30 though, which is dear for a shirt in a supermarket. You know you're getting high end if you're paying 30 quid in Pennies or Tesco or something. You know you're getting something good. Get on the bus and I'm in the mood. I was in the groove. I was excited. First thing happens, on the bus, and I pay my €2.60, and I notice that the bus driver is a bald, probably 50-something-year-old fella, and I take a chance. He's wearing shorts and they're wedged up his legs, you know, and I kind of went, I love the hot pants, mate. Immediately it paid off, because he responded. He was like, wouldn't like to see you in them. Can't be lovely. I was like, Jace, that paid off a bit too well. The bit of banter, you know. And as I'm walking, it's kind of awkward then, because I have to walk away from him. I was half walking away as he said that, and I was like, hey, they wouldn't fit me anyway. And then he said something back, but I didn't hear it because I was near the back, and then it just ended kind of awkwardly. But that got me going. There was plenty of room on the bus. There was no one playing their songs on their phone or watching YouTube on their phone or nothing. Just a grand journey in, a nice easy journey into town. Some young fella sat in the corner. His aftershave smelled lovely, I have to say. Fair play to him. I was going to ask him what it was, but he had headphones in. I was on a roll, you see. I wanted to talk to everybody. Anyway, I get in there and I go to a bar. I didn't want to go straight to the Grand Social. Doors were 7. I'm landing in there about 7:30. It's always a guess as to what time the actual gig will start at. Is it going to be 8:30? Is there going to be support? I couldn't find online if there was. So I make my way to the Lots Cafe Bar where I had done I'd done a gig there on the Wednesday night and it went really well. So I went and someone was drinking Guinness and it looked pretty good. So I went in there, sat at the bar, had 2 pints of Guinness. It wasn't the best, which was unfortunate because I know that I could have went elsewhere and got a delicious pint. I could have went to Bowes, but that's like 7 minutes away and would probably be packed. The Lots was nicely full. Had 2 pints and I did start feeling a bit dizzy. Guinness is very strong. It's a very strong drink, underratedly strong. I had been sensible and eaten before I went out as well. I will say that. Usually I wouldn't. I'd be just trying to fill the hunger with Guinness, but it doesn't work out well in the long run. Had me 2 pints and I go to the Grand Social, has a crowd outside it, and I'm always worried about plastic glasses. I don't like them, especially if you're drinking Guinness. I'm like, if a pub will sometimes serve them if people are drinking outside, and I saw half glass and half plastic and I was like, alright, okay. So I immediately go to the bouncer standing outside, big fella, lovely guy. I said to him, mate, if I get a pint in there, does it have to be in a plastic glass? And he said, no mate, glass. I was like, lovely stuff, fair play to you. So I go in, stand at the bar, and I see a guy just down from me ordering a pint of Guinness, and the barman proceeds to give it to him in a plastic glass. And I was like, oh, he just asked him, the barman before he gave him the Guinness said, are you going to the gig? Now the gig wasn't starting for at least another half an hour, and the guy was like, yeah, but I'm not going up yet. He's like, doesn't matter, plastic glass. And this guy that was getting a drink was not happy with the barman at all. Barman was a younger guy, probably like mid to late 20s, with a mullet. He reminded me of a Wayne's World character. I thought he looked really cool. And I'm watching this unfold, and the guy is arguing with him big time about the plastic glasses. And I felt great because he was channeling what I was thinking. And I was like, he's doing my job for me here. I'm a nice guy. I don't want to complain about it, but I would make a point of it. Anyway, the barman's getting stressed. It's a back and forth, and you can just tell that he's like, look mate, there's nothing I can do, I have to give you a plastic glass. And the guy is really coming back at him. He wants his Guinness in a glass. So I'm taking all this in and I'm watching, and he's the only barman on at that time, and he serves the guy the pint, and he comes to me very stressed, this young barman. And I said to him, Guinness please. And he goes, are you going to the gig? I said, I am, but not yet. And he goes, look mate, you have to go. I said, here. I said, I don't mind. I said, it's fine, don't worry about it. I said, you're doing a good job by the way, fair play to you. What does he do? Gives me a €2 discount. I immediately clicked with this guy. He had a mullet. It was a bit more filled in than mine at the side. Maybe it was just long hair actually. Yeah, I think a filled in mullet is just a head of long hair, isn't it really? What am I? I'm getting carried away with myself here, thinking that mullets are the original. Long hair is the original, and then came the mullet, or is that the case? I don't know. But we had a good connection then, me and the barman. Is Adam was his name, by the way. Works in the Grand Social. Lovely guy, have to say. And once I accepted the plastic glass, and I knew that's how it had to be, I just drank out of the plastic glass. Walked outside, have a smoke. Bouncer was like, oh, plastic, Jesus. I said, look, yeah, you put me wrong, but I'll forgive you. So anyway, I'm just another little, I call these micro thoughts, I think, because these are little things that I think about all the time that I never really talk about, but I've just thought about it now, so I'm going to say it to you. I don't smoke generally. After a stand-up gig sometimes I will, and after a couple of drinks I will if I have some. So I light up a smoke, and I smoked a cigarette, and I'm wondering if I go from a outside a pub scenario to an inside a pub crowded scenario like a gig, and I end up talking to someone, can they smell the smoke off me and do they mind? A woman, for example, Will she notice the smell of smoke on your breath in that kind of crowded scenario? By the way, if the rain is hitting the roof here, I'm sorry. Might be a bit of background noise, but look, it's nature and bad insulation. But it was one of the because I went for a chewing gum and I was like, no, I don't want to have a chewing gum. Like, I want to keep these chewing gums. So that's just something for me. Like, are people repulsed when you're out drinking and you're after having a cigarette outside and you go back in? Can they smell the whack of smoke off you? I don't know. Anyway, I go into this gig, and basically the bar, there's an upstairs section of the Grand Social where the gigs do be on, and it's really good, really proper spot. And it was very crowded, and there was a queue of like 3 deep at the bar in there. And I got a stamp on the way up, so I said, look, I'm going back down. There's plenty of room at the bar downstairs. Adam is down there. You know, I don't mind drinking it, but it was fine. Go back down there, and next thing I hear the bass, and I'm like, oh, I've missed the start of it. I've missed the start of them coming out and on stage and everything, and I was like, no. And I went up and stood there with me pint, and it was just classic song after classic after, just unbelievable. And all people like 40 plus just dancing and having the crack. And a couple of songs, there was one song that we actually played at my brother's funeral it's quite sad when the curtains come around at the crematorium around the coffin for the last time. There was a song called Love Spreads by the Storm Roses. He used to love that song, and we played that. It was quite weird. It's like a down, 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 down. It's just a belter, you know, and it lasts real long. And that came on, and I just absolutely broke down on the spot. I just let the tears come, and I tried to soak in all the nostalgic feelings of the times that I had when I was younger with my brother and all my friends, and this very band, or one of the other tribute bands, or the Stone Roses themselves, who we went to see once or twice. And it was just, closed my eyes and tears were just rolling down my face, like, and it was just an incredible release of emotion. And I was just like, yeah, this is unbelievable. I'm so glad I came out tonight, like. And it continued and continued, hit after hit after hit. There's a back area then, and after a while, a song came on that wasn't one of my favourites, so I went out. There was a bar outside as well, and there's a smoking area. So I lit up there. You look around, and nobody's on the vape in that area. It's all cigarettes, just old school boppers, just hanging around, having a crack. Everybody has a bit of fat on them. Everybody's having a good time, letting loose, probably all feeling nostalgic. And it just felt great. It was so freeing. Bumped into a couple of my eldest brothers, old friends, who would be on the scene at these gigs. I don't know if you've been part of a scene like that before, but you see the same people at the same gigs that are where I'm from. A guy called Joe and Greg. Had a lovely chat with them. And it just solidified the night. It was absolutely lovely. And I texted my good friend Rob Nodder then, who's another comedian. He's been on the podcast. We're staying together in Edinburgh. A good friend of mine, great comedian, lovely young guy. I think he's like 26, 27, and we just have a great friendship. And met up with him then somewhere around Dawson Street. Had 2 or 3 pints, and then I got the bus home. Now, when I say I got the bus home, this is when things really got interesting, because I get on the bus up near Dawson Street, and when you get on there, it's nice and empty as well, so I got a seat and everything, the 39A. Now, this only happened the other day, so I'm not going to give any details about this person away or whatever, but I meant to say as well, can you please follow for updates of new episodes if you can, please, if you wouldn't mind, if you're on Spotify or like and subscribe if you're on YouTube or whatever. Give a good rating if you're enjoying this, and if you're enjoying the episodes in general. Please help the podcast any way you can. So anyway, we also have a donation link to buy guests a coffee if you want to give a couple of quid towards the development of the podcast and coffees for the guests. That would be amazing. That's in the episode description. Anyway, sorry to cut myself off there. But anyway, I sit on the bus and it's about it gets to about the Keys, which is like, about 10 minutes back towards Blanchardstown. The 39A is the late night bus, and it drops me 5 to 10 minutes walk from my home. And next thing I know, a woman and a man get on, and she sits beside me, and we're downstairs on a double decker, about halfway down. I'm in the aisle seat, as they say. No, I'm in a seat by myself, and she sits in the aisle seat. I'm at the window seat. And next thing you know, we get chatting, and I let it slip, of course, a few pints in me. Do a bit of comedy. Oh, give us a joke then. I said, I don't do jokes out of context. I said, what do you do for a living? I said, do you think I'd ask you to do that for me now for nothing? She seemed to like that. Anyway, I was tired at this point, and it was about 12:30, 1 in the morning. That's late for a 37-year-old. And to be honest, I had chicken thighs at home that I wanted to put in the oven, and I had a wrap and a bit of Clark's coleslaw there, which is the best coleslaw in Dublin, Clark's Cabra Road. And I was ready to hit that hard when I got home. So I was like, and I had the Guinness drunk, and I was like, no, we start getting on well anyway. Or she was just very eager to talk to me, and I was talking back, but really I just wanted to eat. Anyway, the chats continue. Her gay friend gets off. I'd say he was probably sizing me up. I don't mean it in that way. I mean like saying, is he suitable for my friend? And he would have probably stayed on the bus if I wasn't. I don't know. That's like the evaluating me, I'd say. But the conversation continued. She had dreadlocks. She was quite a hippie-ish kind of a girl. Really nice girl, if she's listening. And we get off the bus. She happens to say, as we get off the bus, she gets off the same stop as me. And she says, will you walk me back to me boat? I said, are you kidding me or what? What do you mean your boat? She's like, I live on a boat. I says, you're not in Saint-Tropez now or Dunleary like this. You can't live in a boat in Blanchardstown. That's never a good sign. What do you mean a boat? Like if someone lives on a boat in Blanchardstown, a barge is a different story. It was the barge that she lived on. A barge on the canal. And she says, will you walk me back to me barge? I says, I can't. I was starving. I was like, no, look. And like, she's not a bad looking girl, but I was just like not in the mood. Full of Guinness. I was like, oh, like, sorry, but I have to go home. I said, I'm up early in the morning. I used to say I have a match in the morning if I wanted to get out of a situation, but sure, I don't play them anymore. Match for who? It's that awkward age where I can't even play for the over 40s because I'm only 37. You know, who do you play for? The over 30. My nephew has a match, I said. I have to be up early. Please, will you walk me back? And anyway, there's this kind of, I was like the old frog in the boiling water, you know. I didn't know what was happening to me. The water just heats up eventually. Next thing you know, you're boiling. And I was going into the water as well. Jesus. I walked her back anyway. And onto the boat. It wasn't my first time on a barge actually. I remember I was seeing a girl on a barge before. This is a couple of years ago. There was a girl on a barge I was on her barge a few times. And so it just so happens, yeah, it was my second voyage. Nice barge anyway, it's well kitted out, nice kitchen. nice utensils. There was a dog as well, which I was like, bit weird. Do you swim him or do you walk him? You know, I suppose you can walk up the side of the. He's probably like, yeah. Anyway, old dog. I sit down, gives me a can of Bulmers. Happy enough, we start talking. About, she keeps trying to make me tell her jokes, and that's what like. And I told her, and the only reason I'm annoyed about that is because I told her a few jokes and they didn't work. I wasn't saying them right. I even tried a couple of new jokes out on her, and she was just like, "Is that what you do?" And I was like, "Leave me alone! Like I'm after having loads of Guinness, and you know, just stop asking me to do jokes." But you're a comedian. She said it about 3 times. She said it on the bus, and sitting. She's like, "You're a sit down comedian now, aren't you?" I said, "Well, technically, I'm floating. I'm a floating comedian right now." Didn't think of that at the time, of course. Thought of it after. So the chat continues anyway, and she starts telling me about her former lover, her former fella who passed away by his own hand as well. The way she put it was, and I think it's a nice way to put it, is he chose to leave this world, and the more Bulmers that was on board, excuse the pun, she did have Bulmers on board actually, literally, but you know, I was starting to feel a bit seasick, I think, or the Bulmers wasn't suiting me. I didn't, you know, my body was like, "What you doing?" Like, already it was like, "What you doing?" Going out for a load of pints, and then you bring Bulmers into the mix after Guinness, and it's like extra, "What you doing?" So, anyway, I'm sitting there. It's getting a bit seasick. I was nearly gonna ask her for an old seasick tablet or something, and gets very emotional then, because I opened up about my brother then. She's talking about her ex-fella. He's still here with us and all this. So I was like, I hope not. He won't be too happy, you bringing me back here. But she's very much believed that he was. I think he's gone 5 years or something. And I don't want to give away. I'm after giving away quite a bit, actually, am I? But hopefully she's not listening. She didn't like any of my jokes anyway, so I doubt she is, to be honest. She wanted to, you know, she'd got me back to the boat already, and if I swear to God, I thought she was gonna. I didn't want the Bulmers, and I didn't want to go into a room or anything. I thought she was gonna make me walk the plank. You know what I mean? If I didn't do what she said, once I was on the boat. Yeah, so good chats. I had another good cry. She was getting into it like big time about how much she missed her ex and all. And I was then thinking about my brother crying, you know, blubbering. Waterworks, huh? And it was actually a really nice moment. All jokes aside, all jokes were aside at that point, because she was having none of them. I hate when people say that to me. Tell us a joke then. I'm like, you have to be there. Like, I actually told her one of Joe Dowland's jokes, and she loved that. He's brilliant though, but he you know, I started doubting myself then and all. That's probably why I started feeling sick, seasick. My jokes weren't working. Can of Bulmers in the mix. What next? I was thinking. Anyway, I'm sure I could have. I stayed there a couple of hours, kept her company, had a good chat. She gave me her number. She's like, take me number or walk the plank, kind of a situation, you know. And I didn't want to go any further. You know, wasn't floating me boat. I didn't float her boat anyway, I don't think, with them jokes. That's probably why she started getting real sad after hearing my material. But anyway, eventually I called it a night. I says, I'm not feeling well. I have to go home, and you know, I'm up in the morning early. And sure, she says, will you text me when you get back, and can we be friends? She said, you're a nice fella, do you mind if we be friends? So I says, yeah, no bother, yeah. We don't need any more friends, thanks very much. No, but to be honest, well, we definitely won't be friends if she listens to this now. But maybe I would go and have an old can of Bulmers, or I'd bring my own cans, probably cans of Guinness, drink them, Surgers, extra cold. I don't know. Go in the winter, leave them hanging off the side of the boat into the river, keep them cool. or something. Drink them maybe, have a little cry, and then so I texted her anyway when I got back. I said, I'm back on dry land now. Thanks very much. You're a very nice person. Good luck now. That was it. I haven't talked to her since, and I don't know. It was a nice way to round off the night. Like, what a night! There was so much. I was happy with how much happened, and it gives me faith, those kind of scenarios where it's like, I could never have predicted that that's where I was going to end up at the start of that night, and that kind of appeals to me. That sort of not knowing what's going to happen. I like that, and I tend to get myself into those situations. So, yeah, there was it was nice to be out on the water for a while, I suppose. Well, you can feel it when you're on the water. And then the dog, though, I don't know, he wasn't a very nice dog. I didn't like the dog, to be honest. He was friendly and all, but it just kind of... I was a she, I think. But I just, sometimes you don't connect with a dog. I was just like, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I could have stayed on that boat. Maybe I could live in that boat. If things go south, maybe I will keep in touch. Last resort, jobby. Oh, I live on a yacht. That's what I tell people. But yeah, it was good to be home anyway. And at that point, it was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I couldn't be putting chicken in the oven then. So I just got up then next morning, fry up in the mother's house, the All Reliable. That was it then. But a very eventful night that I really enjoyed. All from just looking at me, being bored. It was just boredom. It was like, no, I'm not staying by myself. I don't want my own thoughts tonight. I want to be distracted from that. I'm comfortable enough with my own thoughts for long periods of time, but every now and then I just need to get out there and soak up a bit of positivity, have an experience or two. And I'm glad that I have it in me to do that. It's taken time to learn how to do it, but in summary, try and find something that you enjoy going to that's social, and it'll naturally make you feel good. And who knows where the night will take you? Who knows who you'll meet? If you're around like-minded people, it's more likely that you'll meet someone. And even if you're not, you get to see a good bit of music, and I think it scratches the itch of socializing. So that's basically today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that story. Quite recent. I know it sounds a bit like a diary entry, but I don't really mind. It's like, why not? Why not tell you? Thanks to all the new followers that have followed lately. I really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. It's a pleasure to do this, and I'm really, really enjoying bringing it to you, getting into the groove, and I hope you are too. So leave a comment to any of your thoughts there. Any puns that you can think of, whatever. Slag me, as if you need to be told to do that. Especially Billy, he's always slagging me. Yeah, good episode coming up next week as well with the guest on a Tuesday. I'll leave that as a surprise, but if you follow, you'll get updated with that, and it'll come up in your library. So please do that. This is the Dan Stevens Show. Thank you very much for watching or listening, however you've been consuming this. Hope you've enjoyed it. That was my story of my solo night out, and it's been nice telling you about it. So thank you, and take care of yourself. Enjoy the weekend. Get out and do something nice, or stay in and don't do something nice. Do whatever you want. Good luck. All the best.